Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt an immediate, inexplicable connection? A feeling so profound it seems to transcend time itself. This isn't mere coincidence or chemical attraction. It's the recognition of souls that have known each other across the boundaries of time and space. When ancient souls reunite in this lifetime, there is often an unmistakable energy signature that cannot be explained through conventional understanding. The recognition happens at a level deeper than conscious thought. Your soul literally vibrates in recognition. This phenomenon has been documented across cultures and throughout history, suggesting it is a universal truth of our spiritual existence. The first sign of meeting a soul connection is that peculiar sense of familiarity, despite having just met. You may find yourself thinking, "I feel like I've known you forever," and in truth, perhaps you have. Your souls may have danced together through countless lifetimes, playing different roles in each other's journey toward higher consciousness. As Edgar once noted in his readings, soulmates are not found, they are recognized. This recognition comes with distinctive markers. There's often an intense eye contact that feels like looking into a mirror of your own spirit. Time seems to stand still or accelerate during your interactions. Conversation flows effortlessly, as if you're picking up where you left off, rather than starting anew. You might even experience physical sensations, tingling, warmth, or a subtle electric current passing between you. But perhaps the most telling sign is the profound sense of purpose that accompanies the connection. Soul connections don't merely happen, they arrive with intention. There is a feeling that this meeting was orchestrated by forces beyond your control, that it was meant to be. And indeed, from a spiritual perspective, it was. These connections are carefully arranged before birth to facilitate your soul's growth and evolution. The universe doesn't bring these profound connections into your life randomly. They appear precisely when your soul is ready for the lessons they bring, when you've reached a crucial junction in your spiritual development. Sometimes this timing may seem inconvenient from the ego's perspective. Perhaps you're already in a relationship, focused on career development, or simply not seeking connection. Yet the soul has its own timeline, one that operates outside the constraints of your conscious planning. These connections typically fall into three categories: soulmates, karma mates, and twin flames, each serving different purposes in your spiritual journey. Soulmates come to support and nurture your growth through harmony and understanding. Karma mates arrive to help you resolve unfinished business from past lives through challenge and friction. Twin flames represent the ultimate mirror, reflecting both your highest potential and deepest wounds. It's important to understand that not every intense connection is meant to be a lifelong romantic partnership. Some souls come together briefly but powerfully to catalyze transformation before continuing on separate paths. Others weave in and out of your life at critical junctures, appearing when their specific energy is needed for your evolution. The depth of these connections often transcends logical understanding. You may find yourself drawn to someone who doesn't match your type or usual preferences. This is because the soul operates on different criteria than the personality. While the ego seeks comfort and familiarity, the soul seeks growth and completion, even when that path involves discomfort. When you meet a soul connection, you'll often experience an acceleration of your spiritual journey. Issues you've been avoiding suddenly demand attention. Patterns you've been unconsciously repeating become glaringly obvious. This is because soul connections serve as catalysts, speeding up your evolution by bringing unconscious material to light. There's also a telepathic quality to these relationships, an ability to sense each other's thoughts and feelings across distance. You might pick up the phone to call them only to find they were just about to call you. Or you might feel their emotional state shift even when you're physically apart. This psychic connection reflects the reality that souls communicate beyond the limitations of physical bodies. Not everyone is ready to recognize or embrace these profound soul connections. The ego may resist, creating doubt or fear around the intensity of the experience. Our logical minds search for rational explanations, trying to categorize what is essentially a mystical experience. This is why maintaining an open heart and an expanded consciousness is essential to fully receive the gifts these connections offer. Remember that recognizing a soul connection is only the beginning. What follows is a sacred opportunity for growth that requires conscious participation. These connections don't guarantee easy relationships. In fact, they often challenge us profoundly, but they always, without exception, offer pathways to greater self-awareness and spiritual evolution. Karma mates enter our lives with a spiritual purpose far beyond ordinary companionship. They arrive to balance energetic accounts and heal ancient wounds. Unlike the gentle embrace of a soulmate, these connections often burn with intensity, bringing as much challenge as they do passion. They are the relationships that shake you to your core, triggering your deepest insecurities and most reactive patterns. When a karma mate appears, the attraction is often immediate and overwhelming. There's a magnetic pull that defies logical explanation, a feeling of inevitability that both excites and terrifies. This is your soul recognizing the opportunity for profound healing that stands before you, even as your conscious mind may be unaware of the spiritual contract being activated. The hallmark of a karmic relationship is its triggering nature. These connections seem uniquely designed to push your emotional buttons with surgical precision. Where others might merely annoy you, a karma mate will activate your core wounds: abandonment, betrayal, unworthiness, or rejection. This happens not because they wish to harm you, but because your souls agreed, before incarnating, to help each other face and transcend these patterns. Consider these relationships as spiritual curriculum, courses your soul enrolled in for specific lessons. Perhaps you need to learn boundaries, self-respect, or how to love without losing yourself. Or maybe the lesson involves forgiveness, trust, or releasing control. Whatever the case, karma mates are master teachers disguised as lovers, friends, or even adversaries. They create the exact conditions needed for your spiritual evolution. The intensity of karmic connections often leads to tumultuous relationships characterized by dramatic highs and devastating lows. You may experience passionate reunions followed by painful separations, creating an emotional roller coaster that exhausts yet somehow continues to compel you. This cycle persists because the soul recognizes unfinished business, karma that remains to be resolved. It's crucial to understand that karma isn't punishment but opportunity. These relationships aren't meant to make you suffer. They're designed to illuminate what needs healing within you. The pain you experience isn't the lesson itself, but rather the symptom pointing toward deeper truth. When approached consciously, even the most challenging karmic relationship becomes a pathway to liberation. Many karmic relationships feature striking parallels to past life dynamics. You might find yourself repeating familiar scenarios, perhaps once again struggling with trust issues with the same soul who betrayed you centuries ago, or experiencing dependency with someone you controlled in another time. These patterns continue until the lesson is learned and the energetic imbalance is corrected. A defining characteristic of karma mates is that they mirror your shadow aspects, the parts of yourself you've denied, repressed, or failed to integrate. This mirroring can be profoundly uncomfortable. You may find yourself reacting to qualities in them that you refuse to acknowledge in yourself. This projection creates a charged field of emotional reactivity that points directly to your own inner work. The universe has an elegant design in these relationships. Whatever you most need to heal will be precisely what your karma mate activates. If you struggle with self-worth, they may seem to reject or devalue you. If control issues plague you, they may appear chaotic or unpredictable. This perfect matching of wound to trigger isn't coincidence. It's divine choreography, intended to bring unconscious patterns into awareness. Another signature of karmic relationships is their cyclical nature. You may find yourself repeatedly engaging in the same conflicts, having identical arguments, or cycling through predictable emotional states. This repetition isn't meaningless. It continues until you recognize the pattern and make a conscious choice to respond differently, thereby breaking the karmic cycle. Karma mates often bring specific themes that require resolution. These might include power struggles, dependency dynamics, jealousy, abandonment scenarios, or boundary violations. Pay attention to recurring issues in your relationship. They highlight exactly what your soul came to heal in this lifetime. The specific pain points in your connection are cosmic arrows pointing toward your spiritual curriculum. It's worth noting that karma mates don't always appear as romantic partners. They may be family members, close friends, or even adversaries. What defines the connection isn't its form, but its transformative potential and the intensity of the energy exchange. Any relationship that consistently triggers your core wounds while offering opportunities for growth may be fulfilling a karmic purpose. While these relationships can be challenging, they also offer extraordinary opportunities for growth. Each trigger becomes a doorway to greater self-awareness. Each conflict contains the seed of potential transformation. By facing what arises with consciousness rather than reactivity, you can transmute karmic patterns that have persisted across lifetimes. The ultimate purpose of a karmic relationship isn't endless struggle, but eventual liberation. These connections are meant to evolve, either transforming into more harmonious dynamics as the karma is balanced, or dissolving once their spiritual purpose has been fulfilled. Either outcome represents successful completion of the soul contract. Remember that conscious awareness is the key to resolving karmic ties. When you recognize the patterns at play and take responsibility for your role in the dynamic, you begin the process of transmutation. This doesn't mean accepting mistreatment, but rather understanding the spiritual mechanics behind the challenges you're experiencing and responding with wisdom rather than reaction. Ultimately, karma mates come not to punish, but to liberate. They arrive precisely when your soul is ready to face its next level of healing, even if your ego resists the process. By embracing the lessons they bring and approaching the relationship with consciousness, you can transform ancient patterns and free yourself from cycles that have bound you for lifetimes. In the realm beyond physical existence, souls gather to plan their upcoming incarnations with purpose and intention. Far from the random encounters we often perceive in our daily lives, our most significant relationships, particularly those that profoundly impact our spiritual growth, are carefully orchestrated before we draw our first breath. This sacred agreement, what we might call the pre-birth contract, forms the blueprint for our soul's evolution in the coming lifetime. The concept of pre-birth soul contracts appears throughout spiritual traditions worldwide. From ancient Eastern philosophies to indigenous wisdom traditions, to mystical interpretations of Western religions, we find consistent references to the idea that souls choose their paths and companions before incarnating. Modern spiritual teachers have expanded on this wisdom, offering frameworks to understand how these soul agreements manifest in our relationships. Before incarnating into physical form, your soul engages in a profound process of review and planning. With the guidance of higher spiritual beings and in collaboration with your soul group, you identify the specific lessons you need to master in your upcoming lifetime. Perhaps you need to develop compassion, learn forgiveness, cultivate strength, or experience unconditional love. These learning objectives become the foundation of your soul's curriculum. Once you've clarified your spiritual goals, you then enter into agreements with other souls who will help facilitate these lessons. These souls, some from your immediate soul family and others you've encountered across multiple lifetimes, volunteer to play specific roles in your life journey. Some agree to be supportive companions, others promise to challenge you precisely where you need growth, and still others commit to mirroring back aspects of yourself that require healing and integration. These pre-birth agreements aren't vague intentions, but detailed arrangements specifying the nature and purpose of each significant relationship. Souls literally sit in council together, mapping out the major intersections of their lives and the spiritual objectives of their interactions. They discuss potential challenges, establish energetic markers for recognition, and commit to fulfilling their roles, regardless of how difficult the journey might become once amnesia of these agreements sets in at birth. What makes these soul contracts particularly fascinating is the specific roles different souls agree to play in our lives. Some souls contract to be catalysts, appearing briefly but powerfully to initiate significant change before moving on. Others agree to be companions for the entire journey, providing consistent support through life's challenges. Some brave souls even volunteer to play antagonistic roles, embodying the very qualities we most need to overcome or integrate. The most common roles in these soul contracts include the teacher, who brings wisdom and perspective, the mirror, who reflects our unconscious patterns, the healer, who helps restore what's been damaged, the challenger, who pushes us beyond our comfort zone, and the companion, who walks alongside us through joy and sorrow. Each role serves the higher purpose of facilitating soul growth, though the dynamics may look very different in their earthly manifestation. These soul agreements explain why certain relationships feel so fated or significant from the moment they begin. That inexplicable sense of recognition upon meeting someone new is often your soul remembering the contract you made together. The profound feeling that you've known someone forever, despite having just met, is your higher self acknowledging the ancient bond you share beyond physical time and space. It's important to understand that these pre-birth contracts don't eliminate free will. Quite the opposite. They create structured opportunities for growth while preserving each person's freedom to respond to these opportunities according to their level of consciousness. When both souls remember and honor their spiritual agreement, the relationship flows with purpose and mutual evolution. When one or both forget, the relationship may become stuck in unconscious patterns until awareness returns. The challenges within these soul-contracted relationships aren't accidents or punishments, but carefully designed growth opportunities. The person who triggers your abandonment wound isn't tormenting you, but fulfilling their agreement to help you heal this ancient pain. The partner who pushes your boundaries isn't being difficult, but honoring their promise to help you develop stronger self-definition. Seen through this lens, even the most painful relationship dynamics reveal their deeper spiritual purpose. Pre-birth contracts often include specific meeting points and synchronicities designed to bring souls together at the right moment. That chance encounter that changed the course of your life was likely orchestrated long before you were born. The recurring number sequence that appeared before meeting someone significant may have been a prearranged signal to alert your conscious mind to an important soul agreement activating in your life. These contracts also include exit points, predetermined moments when souls have the opportunity to part ways if the spiritual objective has been achieved or if one soul is not ready to fulfill their role. This explains why some profoundly important relationships may be relatively brief. They were designed to catalyze specific growth rather than provide lifelong companionship. Other relationships persist despite enormous challenges because the souls involved are committed to completing their spiritual work together. One of the most beautiful aspects of soul contracts is that they're fundamentally based on love, not the limited conditional love of human experience, but the expansive universal love that prioritizes spiritual evolution above all else. Souls agree to these sometimes challenging roles out of profound love for each other, knowing that the temporary discomfort of earthly struggle leads to eternal soul growth. There is no greater gift one soul can offer another. Understanding your relationships through the lens of pre-birth contracts can transform how you experience even the most challenging dynamics. The person who broke your heart may have done exactly what your souls agreed upon to teach you self-love and resilience. The parent who failed to provide what you needed may have been fulfilling a sacred agreement to help you develop strength and self-reliance. This perspective doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but offers a broader framework for understanding its spiritual purpose. As consciousness expands, you begin to recognize the divine orchestration behind your significant relationships. You start to perceive the perfect spiritual logic in connections that once seemed random or even cruel. This awareness doesn't eliminate the human experience of pain or challenge, but it adds a dimension of meaning that can transform suffering into conscious evolution. The soul contract perspective invites us to ask different questions about our relationships. Rather than, "Why is this person hurting me?" we might ask, "What did my soul come to learn through this interaction?" Instead of, "Why can't I escape this pattern?" we might wonder, "What growth is my soul seeking through this recurring challenge?" These questions shift us from victim consciousness to spiritual agency. According to spiritual teachers and those with access to Akashic records, all soul contracts include an override clause activated by conscious awareness. Once you recognize the lesson within a challenging relationship dynamic and genuinely integrate its teaching, that particular pattern no longer serves a purpose. The contract for that specific lesson is considered fulfilled, freeing both souls to either transform their relationship or move on to other growth experiences. Perhaps the most profound truth about our deepest relationships is that they function as spiritual mirrors, reflecting with perfect clarity the state of our inner consciousness. This mirroring isn't coincidental. It's a fundamental spiritual law that governs human connection. As within, so without. The external relationship becomes the living embodiment of your internal relationship with yourself, with the divine, and with life itself. When you stand before the mirror of relationship, you're seeing not just another person, but the manifestation of your own consciousness projected into physical form. This principle explains why people at similar levels of awareness tend to attract each other, and why your relationships transform as your consciousness evolves. It isn't that different people suddenly appear in your life. Rather, you begin to experience the same people differently as your perception shifts. This mirroring function serves a sacred purpose. It makes the invisible visible. Your beliefs, fears, expectations, and unhealed wounds, much of which operates below conscious awareness, become tangibly expressed through your interactions with others. What you've been unable to see within yourself becomes impossible to ignore when reflected back through relationship. This is why intimate connections can be simultaneously our greatest source of joy and our most challenging spiritual classroom. The mirroring in relationships operates with remarkable precision. Areas where you're whole and integrated tend to attract and create harmonious relationship experiences. Conversely, aspects of yourself that remain fragmented or unconscious manifest as conflict, triggering situations, or repetitive painful patterns. The relationship becomes a living map of your inner landscape, with each challenge pointing directly to what awaits healing within. Consider how this principle manifests in common relationship dynamics. If you secretly believe you're unworthy of love, you'll likely attract partners who reinforce this belief through rejection or conditional acceptance. If you harbor unexpressed anger, you'll find yourself surrounded by irritable or aggressive people. If you've disowned your power, you'll encounter controlling personalities who dominate you, or perhaps you'll overcompensate by trying to control others. In each case, the external situation precisely mirrors your internal reality. This mirroring effect explains why similar patterns tend to recur across different relationships. The specific people may change, but the dynamic persists because it reflects something unresolved within you. You might leave one controlling partner only to find yourself with another, because the pattern doesn't reside in them. It lives in your consciousness. Until you address the root cause within, the external mirror will continue to reflect the same image. The spiritual mirror of relationship reveals not just your wounds, but also your divine potential. When you experience profound love, acceptance, and harmony with another, you're encountering your own capacity for these qualities. The joy you feel in connection reflects your inherent wholeness. The beauty you perceive in another is a glimpse of your own inner beauty. This positive mirroring is equally instructive, showing you the highest possibilities of your being. Relationship mirrors operate at multiple levels simultaneously. At the most basic level, you project your expectations and assumptions onto others, essentially seeing what you're programmed to see based on past experiences. At a deeper level, you attract people who match your energetic vibration, creating resonant connections that reflect your predominant emotional state. At the deepest level, your soul attracts exactly the mirrors needed for its evolution, the perfect reflections to illuminate your path to wholeness. Understanding the mirror principle transforms how you approach relationship challenges. Rather than blaming others for your discomfort, you recognize that they're simply reflecting aspects of yourself that need attention. This shift from projection to self-responsibility represents a quantum leap in consciousness. It moves you from victim to creator, from passive recipient to active participant in your growth journey. When you find yourself triggered in a relationship, the mirror is working perfectly, showing you precisely what needs healing. That irritation you feel when your partner interrupts you, perhaps it reflects your own unacknowledged tendency to interrupt others, or perhaps it points to a deeper wound around not feeling heard. That jealousy that arises unexpectedly, it may mirror your own unfaithfulness to yourself or others, or reflect deeper insecurities about your worthiness of love. The most challenging mirrors often reflect our shadow aspects, the parts of ourselves we've rejected, denied, or repressed. We may consciously identify as kind while unconsciously harboring cruelty. We might pride ourselves on honesty while subtly deceiving ourselves and others. The shadow content we refuse to acknowledge within will inevitably be mirrored back through our relationships, often through the very behaviors we find most disturbing in others. This understanding leads to a revolutionary approach to relationship difficulties. When triggered, look inward rather than outward. Ask yourself, What does this reaction reveal about me? What part of myself am I seeing in this mirror? What am I being invited to heal? These questions transform conflicts from battlegrounds into sacred opportunities for self-discovery and integration. The transition from unconscious projection to conscious mirroring marks a pivotal point in spiritual development. It's the moment when relationships shift from being primarily sources of fulfillment or frustration to becoming catalysts for awakening. This doesn't diminish their human significance, but adds a profound spiritual dimension that enriches every interaction with transformative potential. As consciousness expands, the nature of relationship mirrors evolves. Initially, the mirrors may reflect mainly wounds and limitations, the unfinished business that needs resolution. As healing progresses, the mirrors increasingly reflect your authentic essence and divine potential. The relationship becomes less about addressing deficiencies and more about celebrating and expanding the wholeness that was always there beneath the wounds. The ultimate purpose of the spiritual mirror is to guide you back to oneness, the recognition that there is no fundamental separation between you and others. What appears as a relationship between separate beings is actually the divine consciousness experiencing itself from different perspectives. The mirror shows you aspects of yourself until you recognize that everything you perceive is, in the deepest sense, a reflection of the one consciousness that encompasses all. This understanding doesn't lead to spiritual bypassing or denial of the human experience of relationship. Rather, it infuses that experience with greater meaning and compassion. You continue to engage fully in the beautiful dance of human connection while maintaining awareness of its deeper spiritual significance. The everyday joys and challenges of relationship become portals to higher consciousness. The mirror principle offers a pathway from karma to dharma in relationships. Initially, unconscious mirroring creates karmic patterns, repetitive cycles reflecting unresolved aspects of consciousness. As awareness grows, these same mirrors become tools for conscious evolution, opportunities to fulfill your spiritual purpose or dharma. What once bound you becomes the very means of your liberation. Remember that the perfection of the mirror doesn't justify harmful behavior or suggest that you should remain in destructive situations. Sometimes the wisest response to what the mirror shows you is to heal the internal wound and then change your external circumstances. The mirror's purpose is to promote healing and awakening, not to perpetuate suffering. As you embrace the spiritual mirror of relationship, you begin to see every interaction as a gift, a perfectly calibrated reflection, offering exactly what your soul needs for its next step in evolution. With this awareness, you can approach each relationship with gratitude, knowing that even its challenges are serving your highest good. In the divine mirror of love, nothing is random, and everything leads toward greater wholeness. The ultimate teaching of the spiritual mirror is this: love yourself completely, and your outer relationships will transform accordingly. Heal the divisions within your own being, and the experience of separation from others will gradually dissolve. Recognize the divine within yourself, and you'll inevitably perceive it in everyone you meet. In the end, all mirrors lead to the same revelation, that what we seek in relationship is the remembrance of our own inherent wholeness. If these spiritual truths about soul connections have resonated with your journey, take a moment to subscribe to this channel for more insights that will illuminate your path to higher consciousness. Share your own experiences with soulmates and karmic relationships in the comments below. Your story may be exactly what another soul needs to hear today. Remember, our collective wisdom creates a powerful field of transformation. Like, comment, and join our community of seekers as we explore the profound mysteries of spiritual relationships together.